What's going on, everybody? It's Spectre here, and welcome back to another Gen 8 Pokemon Sword and Shield discussion video. Now, before we get started, guys, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for all the support on the recent discussion videos that we've had. This is, of course, a new type of content for me that I'm pursuing, and you guys have been, honestly, absolutely bonkers with how much you've been supporting it and apparently enjoying it, and that means the world to me because I'm having a lot of fun making these. So thank you for every single like, every single comment, every single time you come in and join in and just have some fun watching the video. It's amazing to me. So without any further ado, let's hop into today's topic. So right now, the Pokemon series is in kind of a weird spot. After both Gen 7 and Let's Go, it seems that a lot of the fans didn't really enjoy Sun and Moon, or Ultra Sun and Moon, as much as they have past generations. And then, of course, Let's Go was a huge, way different change to the series, trying to incorporate those Pokemon Go players into the series. So not a lot of people have been enjoying Pokemon that much, and a lot of people have been calling it kind of, you know, the death, or at least a low point for the Pokemon franchise, which I can understand. But it seems like with Sword and Shield, Game Freak really wants to return to the main core formula for the games, as opposed to doing the trials and whatnot. We're going back to gyms. There's just a lot of evidence that seems like they really want to incorporate both the Pokemon Go players and the old main series fans, the hardcore fans as well. So I'm really hopeful for what's going to happen in Sword and Shield. But today I thought we'd count down my top 5 hopes for Gen 8. Now these hopes are going to be very Pokemon or franchise specific. Instead of just, you know, looking for hopes that everyone kind of hopes for when any game comes out, such as, you know, great graphics, or I want good quality, I don't know, story, something like that. You know, that's pretty much what we want for every single game. So today we're going to count down 5 hopes that I have that are very specific to the Pokemon franchise itself, and what I think has been lacking in recent generations. So the first thing that I want to see when it comes to Pokemon Sword and Shield is I want the legendary Pokemon and the mythical Pokemon to be a bigger deal, if that makes any sense. Basically, in recent generations, I've found that there have been a lot of legendaries and mythicals, and with there being so much, it's almost oversaturated to the point where we don't really know a lot of the stories behind these Pokemon. Let me give you a little bit of an example here. So Gen 1, we had 5 legendaries and mythicals. Gen 2, we had 6. Gen 3, we had 10. Gen 4, we had 14. Gen 5, we had 13. So the numbers have been, like, increasing pretty much for the most part. Gen 6 was interesting. We only had 6, which I liked. But of course, Gen 6, as we talked about in my old video with the Kalos theory that I have about Sword and Shield, we didn't really finish off the story there. There were a lot of things that were unanswered when it came to the legendaries and mythicals in Gen 6. So that kind of proves the point more. And then Gen 7, we had 14, not including Ultra Beasts. And the Ultra Beasts, I mean, some people count them as legendaries as well. I might very well be in that category. They kind of qualify, so yeah. But depending on your perspective, 14 to 21 legendaries and mythicals. I mean, it's become a lot. And I wouldn't mind if there was a lot if they actually went into the stories of the legendaries and mythicals. And the main part is I want actual challenging parts of the game to be able to actually go and find these things, learn their stories in the game, because I think back to like Hoopa or Volcanion or all these things, and I'm like, I have no idea what their story is. I know that they've had movies about them, but of course this is also a video game franchise, and I want to learn about them in the video games. I'm thinking back to like Gen 4, when we had Cresselia and Darkrai and all them, and we actually learned their stories in these in-game events. Instead of just now we have, you know, go to GameStop and say hello to the clerk and say, hey, can you give me a code for this ultra rare mythical? And he's like, oh yeah, sure, here you go. And it's, you know, they've kind of been undervalued recently, and I really want to return to actually having parts of the game, distinctive parts of the game where you go in and you explore and you figure out the story of the mythical or the legendary, and you complete some challenging tasks, go through this challenging path and find them, and you know, it's exciting. That's what I'm really hoping will be in Pokemon Sword and Shield. They're kind of, you know, revaluing mythicals and legendaries again, not just creating tons of them because they're cool and sending us to GameStop. That is hope number 1. Hope number 2 when it comes to Pokemon Sword and Shield is I want more Mega Evolutions so badly. Those of you who may have seen me and Mystic Umbreon's collab on the top 10 most wanted Mega Evolutions by Pokemon fans for Gen 8 video, you guys know we were pretty hyped for getting new Megas in these games, really hoping it's going to happen. And the interesting thing is, when Megas first came out in X and Y, well, at least when they were first announced, I was kind of like, oh, oof. I was not too fond of them because, I don't know, I just found them to be kind of gimmicky, and it was extending the evolutionary line too far, in my opinion. But it might have just been that the first two that I remember them revealing were Lucario, Mega Lucario, and Mega Garchomp. Neither of which are, like, my favorites. Mega Lucario looks pretty cool. Mega Garchomp is like, eh. But the main thing for me was, these are both already two very powerful Pokemon. Why do they need these boosts and whatnot? But once they started introducing Mega Evolutions for lesser known or lesser competitive Pokemon, I was really happy. To make non-competitive Pokemon viable again through this method, give them a cooler design, I ended up really, really liking Mega Evolutions, and I want to see more. And if you think about it, when you go back through the generations, guys, let's say we have Generation 4, we got new evolutions, so Generation 2, actually. Generation 2, we got new evolutions for older Pokemon. Then if you think about it, Gen 3, we didn't really get that. Gen 4, we got new evolutions for older Pokemon again. Gen 5, we didn't really get anything. Gen 6 came with Megas. Gen 7, we got Alolan forms, which is somewhat similar, but it seems like every 2 generations we get something evolutionary based. Everything is evolution based. So I'm hoping that they'll bring back some new Megas in Gen 8. It kind of fits the pattern, and there are a whole lot of underrated Pokemon that I think could really use the boost, and it could make them relevant again. Less forgotten, more relevant, more viable competitively. I really want Mega Evolutions, guys. I think there's so much opportunity to give some good mons some Mega Evolutions, so I'm excited. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for this one. And my third hope for Pokemon Sword and Shield is a good variety of new Pokemon. I'm looking back to the past couple of generations, guys, and we got Gen 6 with 72 Pokemon, and we've got Gen 7 with 88 Pokemon. That, and I think that's including Meltan and Melmetal, which, I don't know, kind of between the generations. But you get what I'm saying. Those are two pretty low numbers. They're the lowest in the entire series. So the past couple of generations have actually had very few Pokemon, and I'm thinking with the new hardware actually using a home console this time, Nintendo Switch, they definitely have the capability to be able to, you know, introduce a whole bunch of new Pokemon. So I'm looking for, at least in this generation, at least 100 new Pokemon, but I'm hoping, really hoping, that it's somewhere around 130, which is right around where Gen 3 was. I think it was 135. Gen 3 was my favorite generation. So fun. Not too many legendaries and mythicals. Just enough, I found. A little bit of story background to them. But lots of really cool kind of, you know, not common Pokemon, but just regular Pokemon. I'm thinking Exploud. I'm thinking Milotic. I'm thinking Flygon, Aggron, Camerupt, Walrein. There's so many good Pokemon, and that's exactly what I want to see in this generation. You guys will know in my map analysis that I did for the Galar region, there's a lot of cool places, different biomes. There's ice places, tundra, we've got marshland, we've got rustic cities, we've got lots of caves. There's so much opportunity. It looks like a big region too. So much opportunity for some new Pokemon, and I am hoping we get about 130. And I know that Gen 7 had some problems when it came to new Pokemon. They were all very slow. So I'm hoping that they balance them in terms of their base stats and whatnot a little bit better so that we have a bigger variety instead of just having all, you know, kind of stall Pokemon and whatnot. But yeah, 130 Pokemon, at least 100. I'd be so happy. We need to get these generations to be, I don't know, on par again in terms of the amount of Pokemon that are introduced. Hope number 4 for the new Pokemon games, Pokemon Sword and Shield, is a proper battling system. Now, this is something that I have struggled with the Pokemon franchise for quite some time now, and I find it to be very unfortunate that I often end up not actually playing competitive battles too much on the games themselves, and I end up just going to Pokemon Showdown. And there's many reasons for this. It is easier, but I'm hoping that they actually make it a little bit easier to kind of make competitive Pokemon. They did this a little bit in Let's Go, although I want to see it, you know, a little bit more intense with items and abilities and all that. But when it comes to battling system, I'm talking about the actual way in which you find battles in the game. So, of course, we had the Festival Plaza in Gen 7. Not a big favorite among Pokemon fans. It wasn't great. Like, you had to go around in this plaza and actually, like, try to find people, and nah. I didn't like it. So what I'm hoping for is actually a combination between what they did in X and Y, which was the PSS, which I think was the player search system, and it was kind of like this directory of anyone that you've battled with or just random people worldwide that you can actually engage in a battle with. The menu, the user interface was really clean. I'm hoping they combine something like that with actually what they did in Let's Go, where they just had this code. You just type in this 3 Pokemon code and you find somebody. So you can either find someone random, or you could actually just enter the same code as your friend and hopefully battle them. But I'm hoping for playlists, guys. That's what I want. I want playlists. I want a double battles playlist with some, like, a specific rule set. I want single battles playlist with specific rule sets. So no, I don't want to see Mewtwo in every game that I play. I want them to actually kind of take into account what the Pokemon community has decided, whether that's through Smogon or anything like that, that some Pokemon should be banned from some things. I mean, they do this in VGC. They absolutely do this in VGC where they ban overpowered Pokemon. So I'm hoping we can have some actual playlists. The code system with the playlist system, that would be perfect. That would be amazing. It would make competitive battles so much easier, so much more fun, and so much more accessible for the average person too. So yeah, something like a combination of the PSS and the, not the Festival Plaza, I almost said Festival Plaza, and the code system, something like that with playlists. That would be an amazing, amazing battle system. And the final hope that I have for Sword and Shield is kind of a big one. It entails a lot of elements, but I think that is very, very important, and it's actually my biggest hope, I think. Maybe Mega Evolutions too, but this one's really, really big for me too. And that's to generally, there's a couple different elements to this, but generally appeal to older and more mature fans. So, of course, Gen 7 was very, very hand-holdy in terms of how the game operated. Sun and Moon, that is, and Ultra Sun and Moon to an extent. And then also Let's Go, of course. Let's Go was kind of an attempt by Game Freak to, I suppose, bring in the Pokemon Go fans to the series. So it was very, very, you know, I don't want to say childish, but it was very, very, what's the word? Very simple, if that makes sense. So yeah, a combination of Gen 7, or Sun and Moon, and Let's Go, overly simple, and appeals a little bit too much to a younger audience, I think. What I think they can do now, they have the opportunity, is to go back to that main series game kind of feel for the more mature fans. I'm thinking of what they kind of did in Black and White, or Black and White 2 specifically, where they rebooted the franchise, but it was also done in a very good way. An intense storyline, kind of a very mature storyline too, and they had a huge focus on competitive battling, all that kind of stuff. So the way I think they can do this best is have the game, have us introduced to all the new Pokemon, a great story, of course, we all want that. But then the post-game area, that's what I want. And I talked about this a little bit in my Kalos region map analysis, where you actually look at that big city that's up in the north, and it looks like it's a massive post-game area. And that's what I really want. I want to be able to battle old trainers like we did in the Pokemon World Tournament in Black and White 2. I want to see Cynthia, I want to see Red, I want to see a whole collection of all the other trainers, the main trainers, main characters from the past games. That would be really, 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 really cool. And also, it would be a challenge. The Pokemon World Tournament was definitely a challenge to be able to face all these strong trainers again. It's very nostalgic, too. And I mean, they're bringing the franchise to the home console. I think it's a way to kind of tie everything that's happened in the franchise together, along with the Pokemon Go fans, so they can be introduced to this kind of stuff as well. So yeah, a post-game battling facility is something that I really, really want. Something like the Battle Tower, something like Battle Frontier. Back in Pokemon Emerald, there was that massive city. That's exactly what this looks like to me on the Galar region map. And another thing that I would like would be kind of a difficulty setting of some sort. I know in Pokemon Let's Go, if you actually played without using your partner Pokemon, which they actually gave a huge buff, if you didn't use candies either, it was actually a fairly hard game, but I'd like to have actual difficulty settings of some sort. That would be a really cool feature. Or again, just ways that you can make the game more difficult for yourself. That would be very, very creative. I'd like that a lot. But yeah, definitely some post-game stuff. A huge, massive city would be amazing. And then after the city, if you guys notice on the Galar region map, there's that massive kind of mountainous area. And I was saying this in my map analysis. I was hoping that this would actually be a massive area with a few different routes that you can actually catch older Pokemon. And this kind of ties everything together, this post-game area, everything that I've been hoping for. You can also have Mega Evolutions, the new Mega Evolutions, be available in the post-game, be accessible in the post-game. I think that would be a really cool way to not detract away from the Gen 8 Pokemon themselves and the Pokemon story, but then in the post-game have lots of things to do. I want to see also shiny hunting. That's obviously, I think they're recognizing that more and more as being a big part of the post-game. I just want a huge post-game facility, guys. Massive, 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 with a route behind it, or several routes behind it where you can find some old Pokemon. Oh, that's what I want, guys. That's what I want most, and I think a lot of fans want that too, especially with how, you know, kind of childlike the recent video games have been, the recent Pokemon games have been. I definitely love to see a massive post-game area, all competitive battling, shiny hunting, old characters from the games being really hard to beat, a whole bunch of challenging stuff. that would really make the game amazing for me. Just incredible. And then guys, 2 bonus things that I would really like to see, and I think a lot of other Pokemon fans want to see this too, but I don't think are going to happen, would be overworld encounters, which I thought was really cool in Let's Go. But Let's Go, of course, the development actually started after Pokemon Sword and Shield were starting to be developed, so I doubt that's going to be the case. And in the trailer, we of course saw the wild grass encounters. I think we're going back, but that's okay. And then one more thing I wanted to see was following Pokemon, but I'm not sure that's happening. But I'd honestly be happy if they just had a lot of overworld Pokemon just chilling, you know, just chilling in the cities, in the routes. I would really like to find that. Just finding them on the overworld is incredible. It's just such a fun experience. There's something different to it. It's a different dynamic than finding them in battle. Even when trainers have a Pokemon beside them, I just like that. I'd like to see that everywhere. Just overworld Pokemon, making the region itself feel more lively, feel more realistic. I think that would be very, very, very cool. And then the ride Pokemon would be cool too. I'd like to see more ride Pokemon. That was a great feature in both Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, and Let's Go. I really like the ride Pokemon, and of course replacing HMs and all that. It was fantastic. But yeah, who knows if those things will happen. Those are definitely 2 of the things where I'm like, I'm not quite sure those will happen based on the trailer. But yeah, 2 bonus things that I'd like to see in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Anyway guys, those are all my hopes for Gen 8, or my main hopes, I should say. I have a lot. I have a problem. I hope for too many things. But these are some things that I really, really want to see. You guys be sure to let me know what you want to see in Pokemon Sword and Shield in the comments down below. And of course, as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Gen 8 discussion videos. See you guys next time.